I died with my husband's desperate confession echoing in my ears. After 40 years of marriage, Lord Marcus finally revealed the truth: he'd never loved me. His heart belonged to my half-sister, Emily, the girl who'd once saved him from starvation. "If heaven grants us rebirth," he gasped with his final breath, "promise me you'll step aside. Let me have the love I was denied." Promised. Then darkness took us both. But when I opened my eyes again, I was 19, standing in my father's garden on the very day that started everything. The day a young scholar collapsed at our gates. This time I'd keep my promise. This time I'd let Emily save him. What I didn't know was that changing one moment would rewrite everything, and that the silent guardian who'd watched over me from the shadows was about to reveal a love that transcended time itself. Before we dive in, let us know in the comments which country you're watching from. And if this is your first time here, don't forget to subscribe. Enjoy listening. The physicians had given up 3 days ago. Now it was just Marcus and me, two dying souls in a chamber that reeked of medicinal herbs and impending death. Outside, snow fell on the ministry compound where we'd spent 40 years as the model couple. Respected, powerful, childless. My husband's hand, once so elegant holding his calligraphy brush, now looked like dried parchment as it clutched mine. At 62, the wasting disease had reduced him to bones and regret. "Visha," he whispered, and I leaned closer despite my own failing strength. "I must confess." "Save your strength," I murmured, though we both knew strength was a luxury neither of us possessed anymore. "No. I've been a coward for 40 years. I won't die as one." His clouded eyes fixed on mine with surprising intensity. "I never loved you." The words should have hurt. Instead, they felt like confirmation of something I'd always known but never acknowledged. Our marriage had been built on respect, duty, and mutual benefit, never passion. "I know," I said simply. He laughed, a rattling sound that turned into coughing. Blood specked his lips. "You always were too perceptive. But do you know why? Do you know who? Tell me." "Emily. Your sister Emily. The girl who saved me that winter day when I was nothing but a starving scholar. She gave me food, silver, hope. But you." His grip tightened. "You were the eldest daughter of Minister Chan. The legitimate daughter. The one with connections. When I passed the imperial examinations, I came to propose to her, but your father laughed. Said a fourth-place scholar could never marry his daughter, even an illegitimate one. But you were different. You saw my potential." I remembered that day. Marcus, young and brilliant but poor, standing in our reception hall while father dismissed him. I'd intervened, recognizing his talent, suggesting father reconsider. Within a year we were married. "You gave me everything," Marcus continued. "Your dowry funded my political career. Your intelligence guided my decisions. Your connections opened doors. I became prime minister because of you. But every night I dreamed of her. Sweet Emily with her laugh like silver bells. She married that merchant, had 6 children, lived the simple life that should have been mine." "Marcus, if there is a next life," he interrupted, desperation cracking his voice. "If the heavens have any mercy, promise me. Promise you'll step aside. Let Emily save me that day. Let me have the chance to win her love properly. Let me live the life I truly wanted." I studied his face, this man I'd shared 4 decades with. We'd never had children. Whether by fate or the subtle distance between us, I never knew. But we'd built an empire of influence together. Now at the end, all he wanted was the path not taken. "I promise," I said softly. "If heaven grants us another chance, I'll make sure Emily saves you." Relief flooded his features. 3 hours later, he was gone. I followed before dawn, my last thought a prayer that somewhere, somehow, he'd find his happiness. Then I woke up gasping. Sunlight streamed through windows I hadn't seen in 43 years. My hands, smooth, unspotted, young, trembled as I raised them to my face. The polished bronze mirror on my dresser reflected a face from memory. 19 years old, unmarried, alive. First young mistress Visha. My maid Roselle burst in, her round face flushed with excitement. "Your father requests your presence in the main hall. There's a disturbance at the front gate. Some beggar scholar claims he needs help." My heart stopped. This was it. The day that changed everything. In my first life, I'd been returning from the market when I heard the commotion. I'd investigated, found Marcus collapsed from hunger, and saved him myself. But this time, "Tell father I'm feeling unwell," I said, surprised by how steady my voice sounded. Perhaps second sister Emily should handle this matter. Roselle looked confused. I never shirked my duties but bowed and left. I moved to my window, which overlooked the front courtyard. Below I could see him. Marcus, 23 years old, brilliant and starving. His scholar's robes were travel-stained, his face gaunt from days without food. He clutched his examination credentials like a lifeline while our gatekeepers tried to force him away. "Please," his young voice carried up to me. "I just need a small loan. I'll repay it tenfold after the examinations. I have proof of my scholarly rank." "Get lost, beggar." Old Chan, our head gatekeeper, raised his stick threateningly. "How many fake scholars try this trick? Move along before I call the city guard." I watched, my fingers gripping the windowsill, as my younger sister appeared in the courtyard. Emily at 15 was breathtaking. Delicate features, graceful movements, and a natural warmth that drew people like flowers to sun. She was father's illegitimate daughter, born to his beloved concubine, but he doted on her despite her lower status. "What's happening here?" Emily asked, her voice musical even when concerned. Olchan bowed low. "Second young mistress, just a beggar. I'm handling it." "Wait." Emily descended the steps, her silk robes rustling. She was wearing her favorite pink ensemble, the one that made her look like a spring blossom. "You said you're a scholar?" Marcus struggled to straighten, to bow properly despite his weakness. "Yes, second young mistress. Marcus Stone from Riverside Province. I placed first in the provincial examinations, but bandits stole everything on my journey here. I just need enough to survive until the imperial examinations." Emily studied his papers, her delicate brows furrowing in concentration. In my first life, I'd recognized the official seals, understood the significance of his ranking. Emily, sheltered and sweet, had less worldly knowledge. "These look real," she said uncertainly. She bit her lip, a habit when thinking. "How much do you need?" "Anything you can spare, second young mistress. Even a few copper coins would help." Emily's kind heart was moved by his desperation. "Roselle," she called to my maid who'd been hovering nearby, "bring this scholar some food from the kitchen. And..." She removed a small purse from her belt. "Here's 5 silver taels. It's all I have on me, but it should help." 5 taels. In my first life, I'd given him 50, knowing the real costs of surviving in the capital. 5 would keep him fed for perhaps a week, but wouldn't cover lodging, proper clothes for the examination, or the unofficial fees the examination proctors expected. Marcus's face showed a flicker of disappointment before he masked it with gratitude. He fell to his knees, kowtowing deeply. "Second young mistress's kindness will never be forgotten. I swear on my ancestors' graves I'll repay this debt." "Stand up, please," Emily said, uncomfortable with such dramatic gratitude. "Just do well in your examinations. Serve the kingdom with honor." As servants brought out food, I noticed something I'd missed in my first life. Another figure watching from the shadows. A young military officer stood beneath the willow trees outside our gate, his eyes not on the drama with Marcus but on me. He was perhaps 25, tall and broad-shouldered, with the controlled stillness of a trained warrior. When he realized I'd spotted him, he didn't look away. Instead, he offered a small, respectful nod before melting back into the street crowd. Something about him seemed familiar, but I couldn't place it. "Sister." Emily's voice drew my attention back. She'd entered my room without my noticing, her face glowing with excitement. "Did you see? I helped a scholar today. Father always says the kingdom needs talented men. Maybe this one will become somebody important." "Perhaps," I said carefully, "though the capital is hard for those without connections." "Oh, but he seemed so determined. And did you see his eyes? Such intelligence. I bet he'll place in the top 3. In my first life with my support, Marcus had placed 4th, high enough to catch attention, start a career. Without it, "Emily," I said suddenly, "do you have more money saved? That scholar might need additional help." Her face fell. "I gave him everything I had with me." "Mother," she meant her birth mother, concubine Lily, Controls my monthly allowance strictly. Why? Do you think 5 taels isn't enough? The capital is expensive, I said neutrally. She brightened. Well, if he's truly talented, he'll manage. Determination conquers all obstacles, right? I didn't answer. Emily's optimism was part of her charm. But the real world was crueler than she knew. 2 months passed. I spent them differently than in my first life. No secret meetings with Marcus to offer guidance. No using father's influence to ensure he got a fair chance at the examinations. Instead, I focused on my own studies, particularly the military texts father considered inappropriate for a minister's daughter. The day the examination results were posted, the entire capital buzzed with excitement. Emily dragged me to the imperial board despite my protests. We have to see if that scholar made it, she insisted, practically bouncing with anticipation. The crowds around the posting board were thick, but our status as the minister's daughters cleared a path. I scanned the listings, my heart sinking as I went lower and lower. There Marcus Stone, place 47th. 47th out of 300 who passed was still respectable, but it meant a posting to some remote province, not a position in the capital. Not a chance to win Emily's hand. Oh, Emily said, deflating slightly. Well, at least he passed? A remote posting for someone without family or connections often means obscurity, I said gently. He'll likely spend his entire career in some border town. Emily's face fell further. But I helped him. You gave him a chance. That's all anyone can do. As we turned to leave, I collided with someone solid. Strong hands steadied me, and I looked up into the face of the military officer from 2 months ago. Up close, I could see his eyes were an unusual amber color, like autumn leaves. Lady Visha, he said, his voice deep and carefully controlled. My apologies. You know me? I asked surprised. Everyone knows the minister's eldest daughter. But there was something more in his tone, a weight to the words. I don't believe we've been introduced, General? Captain, he corrected. Captain Noah Wolf. I serve under General Commander Lou. Wolf. The name stirred something in my memory from my first life. Noah Wolf. Hadn't there been a General Wolf who died defending the northern borders? A war hero who'd never married, devoted entirely to duty? Captain Wolf, I nodded politely. Are you here about the examination results? No, my lady. Military promotions are handled differently. He paused, seeming to gather courage. Actually, I've been hoping for an opportunity to speak with your father. About a matter of some importance. Before I could respond, a commotion erupted near the board. Marcus had arrived, pushing through the crowd to see his placement. I watched his face transform from hope to despair as he found his name. 47th, he whispered, loud enough for those nearby to hear. But I was first in the provincials. My essays were perfect. How? An older scholar nearby laughed bitterly. Perfect essays mean nothing without the right considerations for the examiners. You did pay the reading fee, didn't you? Marcus went pale. Reading fee? Oh, you poor provincial fool. Nothing official, of course, but everyone knows you need at least 30 taels to ensure your papers get proper attention. Otherwise, they might accidentally get wine spilled on them, or read last when the examiners are tired. I saw the moment Marcus understood. His face turned toward our group, his eyes finding first Emily, then me. The look he gave me was strange, as if he was trying to remember something just out of reach. Second young mistress, he said, approaching and bowing. I passed, as you see. Congratulations, Scholar Marcus, Emily said warmly. Where will you be posted? Crow's Hollow, in the far northern provinces. His voice was flat. Assistant to the local magistrate. Crow's Hollow. I knew it from my first life. A mining town so remote that maps sometimes forgot to include it. A career graveyard. Oh, Emily said, clearly not recognizing the name. Well, every great career starts somewhere. Marcus's jaw tightened. Indeed. If you'll excuse me, I must prepare for the journey. He left without another word, but not before that strange, searching look at me again. He seemed upset, Emily murmured. Disappointment is hard to bear, Captain Wolf said quietly. But a man's true character shows in how he handles setback, not success. Something in his tone made me look at him more carefully. He was watching me, not Emily, with an intensity that made my pulse quicken. Captain Wolf, I said. You mentioned wanting to speak with my father? Yes. But perhaps. Might I walk you ladies home? The streets can be chaotic on results day. Emily giggled. A military escort. How exciting. As we walked, Captain Wolf fell into step beside me while Emily chatted with Roselle behind us. He was quiet for several blocks before speaking. You don't remember me, do you? I looked at him in surprise. Should I? 3 years ago. The Summer Moon Festival. You were walking by the river when you saw a soldier fall from his horse into the water. Everyone else laughed. Drunk soldier, they said. But you recognized the signs of heat stroke. You pulled me from the water, gave me your parasol for shade, and stayed until the physicians arrived. The memory surfaced slowly. A young soldier in distress, my instinctive response to help. I hadn't even learned his name. That was you. That was me. I'd been riding for 3 days straight with urgent dispatches. If you hadn't helped, I would have drowned. He paused. I've wanted to thank you properly ever since. No thanks necessary. Anyone would have. No, he interrupted gently. They wouldn't. And you didn't just save me. You protected my dignity. Told everyone I was suffering from honorable exhaustion in service to the kingdom, not drunk. That reputation saved my career. We'd reached the minister's mansion. Captain Wolf bowed formally. Lady Visha, I hope this isn't too forward, but might I have your father's permission to call on you? Properly, with appropriate chaperone. My breath caught. In my first life, I'd been married to Marcus by now. This was entirely new territory. I would need to ask father. Of course. He smiled then, transforming his serious face. I'm a patient man, Lady Visha. I've waited 3 years. I can wait a bit longer. Father was intrigued by Captain Wolf's request. Noah Wolf, he mused over dinner. Interesting young man. Rose from nothing. His father was a blacksmith, mother died young. But his military record is impressive. General Liu speaks highly of him. A blacksmith's son? Mother's tone was carefully neutral. As father's official wife, she had to consider our family's reputation. Who earned his commission through merit. Saved Duke Han's son during the western border skirmish. The Duke sponsored his promotion to captain. Father studied me. He's requested permission to court you, Visha. Emily dropped her chopsticks. Court, sister? But she caught herself before saying supposed to marry a minister or duke's son. I'm 19, I said calmly. Many girls my age are already married. Yes, but you're the legitimate daughter, Emily protested. You could marry anyone. Anyone father approves, I corrected. And Captain Wolf seems respectable. Father nodded slowly. I'll allow supervised visits. We'll see how things develop. That night Emily came to my room. Sister, are you really considering a military officer? They're gone for months at a time. What about the scholarly type you always said you admired? Like Marcus, I thought but didn't say. People change, I said instead. Captain Wolf seems honorable. But he's not romantic. Where are the poems, the paintings, the sworn declarations of eternal love? Perhaps, I said, thinking of my 40 years with Marcus. There are different kinds of love. Captain Wolf's courtship was indeed different from what I'd known. He visited twice a week, always properly chaperoned. Instead of poetry, he brought me practical gifts. A beautifully crafted writing box, rare ink from the northern provinces, a small dagger, for protection, he'd said, making Mother nearly faint. We talked about unexpected things. Military history, which fascinated me. Trade routes and their strategic importance. The reality of border life. He listened to my opinions seriously, never dismissing them as Marcus had often done, kindly but patronizingly. You have a strategic mind, he said one afternoon as we played chess in the garden. Have you ever considered that your talents might extend beyond household management? Women don't have such opportunities, I said, capturing his general peace. Perhaps not officially, but a clever wife could be her husband's greatest advisor. He moved his cavalry, trapping my forces. The right partnership could change everything. Our eyes met across the board. There was something thrilling about the way he looked at me, not as a prize or a political connection but as an equal. 2 months into our courtship, shocking news arrived. Marcus Stone had disappeared from his posting in Crow's Hollow. The magistrate he'd served was found dead, the town's tax revenue stolen. Rumors swirled that Marcus had fled to the barbarian lands beyond the border. "I can't believe it," Emily whispered, pale with shock. "The scholar I helped became a murderer?" "Desperation drives men to extremes," Father said grimly. "The Imperial Guard will hunt him down." But I wondered. The Marcus I'd known in my first life had been ambitious but never violent. What had changed? Or had I never really known him at all? That evening, Captain Wolf requested a private audience with Father. When they emerged, both looked serious. "Visha," Father said. "Captain Wolf has been promoted to Major and assigned to lead a force to the northern border. The situation with the barbarians is escalating, possibly connected to the Marcus Stone incident." My heart sank. Just as I was beginning to care for Noah, he would leave. "However," Father continued, "he's made a proposal. Marriage before he departs. It would provide you with his military spouse benefits and protection should anything happen." "That's hardly romantic," Mother protested. "It's practical," Noah said, speaking directly to me. "I know this isn't the courtship you deserve. But Visha, I've loved you for 3 years. Every mission, every battle, I survived by thinking of coming home to you. I don't want to leave without making my intentions clear. Will you marry me?" In my first life, Marcus had proposed with beautiful words about destiny and partnership. This was different, raw, honest, urgent. "When would you leave?" I asked. 3 days after the wedding. "That's all. I'd marry you today if I could." His amber eyes burned with intensity. "Every moment with you is worth a lifetime without." "Sister, you can't." Emily burst out. "This is too sudden. What about a proper wedding, a proper courtship?" But I was thinking of my first life, 40 years of proper everything with a man who loved someone else. Here was a man who loved me, truly me, not my connections or status. "Yes," I said. "I'll marry you." The wedding was small but beautiful. Noah wore his dress uniform. I wore my mother's wedding robes. As we bowed to heaven and earth, to our parents, to each other, I felt something I'd never felt in my first wedding, hope. Our wedding night was gentle and passionate in ways Marcus had never been. Noah touched me like I was precious but not fragile, desired but not possessed. When he had to leave 3 days later, I felt his absence like a physical ache. "I'll write every week," he promised, kissing me goodbye at the city gates. "Wait for me. Come back," I whispered. "That's all I ask." Noah kept his promise. Letters arrived weekly, sometimes stained with dirt or blood, but always full of details about his days, questions about mine, plans for our future. The barbarian situation was worse than expected. Someone was supplying them with information about troop movements, fortification weaknesses. 6 months into our marriage, I discovered I was with child. My letter telling Noah must have grown wings, because his response came in record time, full of joy and terrible name suggestions that made me laugh until I cried. But then Emily arrived at my door in tears. "Sister, the most terrible thing. Father's arranged a marriage for me." "To whom?" I asked, alarmed by her distress. "Lord Chun. He's 40 years old and already has 2 concubines. Just because of that stupid rumor about me meeting secretly with young Lord Wang. Father says my reputation is damaged and this is the best offer I'll get." In my first life, Emily had happily married a merchant. But that was after Marcus had married me. Now, with him disappeared and branded a criminal, their connection tainted her reputation. "Perhaps Lord Chun isn't so bad," I began. "He's horrible. I met him at the ministry banquet. He leered at me and said I'd give him many sons." She shuddered. "Sister, what do I do?" I held her while she cried, my mind racing. This was my fault. By changing the past, I'd condemned my sweet sister to misery. "There might be another way," I said slowly. "Captain, I mean Major Wolf has subordinates who are unmarried. Good men looking for wives. If one of them offered for you." Hope bloomed in Emily's eyes. "Would Father accept a military marriage? If the alternative is Lord Chun? Perhaps." I wrote to Noah immediately, explaining the situation. His response came with surprising news. His lieutenant, Thomas Reed, had been asking about Emily since the wedding. Would she consider him? Lieutenant Reed was 28, from a minor noble family, with a promising military career. When he arrived in the capital to court Emily, she was immediately charmed by his easy humor and genuine kindness. "He makes me laugh," she told me, blushing. "And he doesn't treat me like I'm stupid just because I'm pretty." Father, relieved to have an alternative to the increasingly insistent Lord Chan, approved the match. Their wedding was scheduled for spring, but winter brought disaster. The barbarians, led by someone they called the Dragon Scholar, broke through the northern defenses. Noah's letters stopped coming. Reports were confused, contradictory. Massive casualties, entire units missing, possible betrayal from within. I was 7 months pregnant when Father came to my chambers, his face grave. "Visha, prepare yourself. Noah is listed among the missing." The world tilted. Missing, not dead? The entire Phoenix Regiment vanished during what should have been a routine patrol. Either captured or he didn't finish. Or they defected. There are reports the Dragon Scholar is actually Marcus Stone, and that he's been turning our soldiers against the Empire with promises of wealth and position. Marcus. It always came back to Marcus. Noah would never betray the Empire, I said firmly. I know, but others at court are less certain. There's talk of stripping military families of their titles if their soldiers are proven traitorous. That night the pain started. Too early. The physician said it was stress, that I needed to stay calm for the baby. Calm when my husband might be dead or branded a traitor. Calm when everything was falling apart. Emily and Lieutenant Reed postponed their wedding to stay with me. Reed used his military connections to gather information, but news was scarce and contradictory. Then one snowy night, a figure in a hooded cloak appeared at our gates. "I need to see Lady Visha Wolf," he told the guards. "I have information about her husband." They brought him to me despite the late hour. When he lowered his hood, I gasped. It was Marcus, but barely recognizable. Scars crossed his once handsome face. His left arm hung useless at his side. "Hello, Visha," he said, his voice rough. "Or should I say, sister-in-law? What have you done with Noah?" Direct as always. He laughed bitterly. "Your husband is alive. For now. Whether he stays that way depends on you. What do you want? Justice. Recognition. The life I should have had." His eyes glittered with something that might have been madness. "Did you know, Visha, that I dream about another life? A life where you saved me that day, not your sister Emily? Where we married and I became Prime Minister." My blood ran cold. He remembered. Somehow he remembered our first life. "Dreams aren't reality," I said carefully. "Aren't they? Then why do I know things I shouldn't? Like the scar on your left shoulder from when you fell from a horse at age 12. Something you've never told anyone. Or your fear of deep water because you nearly drowned at 7. Or the way you used to practice calligraphy in secret because your father said your handwriting was too masculine. All true. All things only Marcus from my first life would know." "How?" I whispered. "I don't know. The dream started after I fled to the barbarian lands. Their shamans say I have the soul sight, that I can see across the veils of time. They made me their leader because of it." He stepped closer. "I've used the knowledge to win battles, to turn the Empire's soldiers to my cause. Your husband's men follow me now, not him." "You're lying." "Am I? Then why hasn't Noah written? Why hasn't he escaped? He's strong enough." Marcus smiled coldly. "Unless, of course, his own men are his guards." The implication hit me like a physical blow. Noah's soldiers, turned against him by Marcus's manipulations. "What do you want?" I repeated. "You. Come with me. Be my wife as you were meant to be. I'll release Noah, call off the invasion. Your sister can have her military hero. Everyone wins. Except me. You'd have power beyond imagining. The barbarian kingdoms bow to me. We could create an empire to rival anything in history. Built on betrayal and blood." His scarred face twisted. "Built on correcting fate's mistake. We were meant to be together, Visha. You know this. You feel it too, don't you? The wrongness of this life." I did feel it, the sense that reality had shifted, that things weren't as they should be. But I also remembered 40 years of marriage to this man, 40 years of respect without love, ambition without warmth. I made a promise, I said quietly, to let you have the life you wanted. With Emily. Emily. He laughed harshly. That simpering child? She gave me 5 taels, Visha. 5. Do you know what I could have done with the 50 you would have given? The connections you would have provided? She condemned me to mediocrity. So you became a traitor instead? I became what this world forced me to become. He grabbed my wrist with his good hand, and suddenly I was back in that death chamber, old Marcus holding me with the same desperate grip. Choose, Visha. Come with me or I'll destroy everything you love. Your husband, your father, your precious empire. I have 10,000 barbarian warriors and 500 turned soldiers. The capital will burn. I looked into his eyes, mad, desperate, but also genuinely believing he was correcting some cosmic injustice. I need time, I said. The baby. I can't travel until after the birth. 1 month, he said. After that, I come for my answer with an army. He left as suddenly as he'd appeared. I collapsed, clutching my swollen belly, feeling the baby kick frantically. We have to tell father, Emily said. She'd been listening from the next room with Lieutenant Reed. Tell him what? That Marcus Stone has mystical knowledge of another life? That he's the dragon scholar? Without proof, they'll think I'm hysterical from pregnancy. Then what do we do? Reed asked. I thought of Noah, prisoner of his own men. Of Marcus's army approaching. Of the impossible choice before me. We get proof, I said. And we save them all. My son was born 2 weeks later, during the worst snowstorm in decades. I named him Victor, for the victory I prayed his father would achieve. He had Noah's amber eyes and my stubborn chin. While I recovered, Lieutenant Reed infiltrated the refugee camps filling with people fleeing the northern provinces. Emily, surprising everyone, volunteered to help distribute food and gather information. These people have seen the Dragon Scholar's army, she explained. They'll talk to a kind woman with food more than soldiers. She was right. Within days we had detailed intelligence. Marcus's location, his troop numbers, and most importantly, where he was holding Noah and the loyal soldiers who'd refused to turn. Father, presented with evidence, acted swiftly. But the Imperial army was stretched thin, and many generals feared facing the Dragon Scholar's forces. We need an alternative strategy, Father said during an emergency council. Direct confrontation might fail. Then we don't confront directly, I said from my seat at the council table. Women weren't usually permitted, but my position as Noah's wife and the intelligence I'd gathered earned me a place. We use Marcus's weakness against him. What weakness? General Liu asked. He believes he's correcting fate. That means he'll be where he was supposed to be in this other life he remembers. And I know exactly where that is. In my first life, the spring festival had been when Marcus formally proposed to me. He'd done it at the Lotus Bridge in the Imperial Gardens at sunset, with the cherry blossoms blooming. He'd called it the perfect moment, destiny manifested. He'll be there, I said with certainty, on the spring festival. He'll expect me to come to him. It's a trap, Father protested. Yes, I agreed. But whose? The plan was dangerous. I would go to the bridge as bait while soldiers surrounded the gardens. Reed would lead a strike force to rescue Noah during the distraction. But everything depended on Marcus being where I predicted. You're risking everything on a madman's delusion, General Liu said. No, I corrected. I'm betting on a man who's lived his life by patterns, even in madness. The spring festival arrived gray and cold, cherry blossoms struggling to bloom in the unseasonable chill. I left Victor with my mother and made my way to the gardens, wearing the red wedding robes from my first life, kept all these years though I couldn't say why. Marcus was there, standing on the bridge exactly where he'd proposed 43 years and a lifetime ago. He wore imperial robes, dragon-embroidered gold on black. The pretender emperor. You came, he said, smiling. And in the proper dress. You do remember. I remember everything, I said truthfully. 40 years of marriage. 40 years of you looking through me to see her. His smile faltered. That was the wrong life. This is the correct one. Is it? Then why are you here alone? Where's your army, Marcus? Close enough. Did you think I'd trust the Imperial forces? My men surround these gardens too. I counted on it. Confusion flickered across his scarred face. What? You're not the only one who remembers, Marcus. But unlike you, I learned something from our first life. You always follow patterns. Always choose the dramatic gesture over practical strategy. It's why you needed me then, and why you'll lose now. Signal rockets shot into the sky, not from one direction but three. The Imperial forces had surrounded Marcus's surrounding forces. And in the distance from the north, more rockets. Reed had reached the prison camps. You betrayed me. Marcus snarled, drawing his sword. I saved you. In our first life you died at 80, respected and powerful. In this one, you could have lived quietly in Crow's Hollow, found peace. But you chose this. Because it wasn't right. We were meant to be together. No, I said sadly. We were meant to learn. I learned that gratitude isn't love, that respect isn't passion. You were supposed to learn that sometimes what we want isn't what we need. He charged at me, sword raised. 40 years of swordsmanship training from our first life evident in his form. But I wasn't the sheltered minister's daughter anymore. Noah had taught me to defend myself during our brief time together. I sidestepped, letting his momentum carry him past. In our first life, you never knew I studied martial arts in secret. Another thing you never bothered to learn about me. He spun, attacking again with more control. Around us, the sounds of battle erupted as Imperial forces engaged his barbarian fighters. But here on the bridge, it was just us, two souls who remembered another life, fighting over which version of reality should exist. You think you've won? Marcus snarled between strikes. Even if you capture me, my forces will continue. The barbarians believe I'm their prophesied leader. The shamans who gave you that title have already renounced you, I said, dodging another swing. Lieutenant Reed didn't just free Noah. He brought proof of your lies to the barbarian chiefs. How you promised them lands that don't exist, gold that was already spent. You're not their prophet, Marcus. You're just another failed conqueror using them. His face contorted with rage. Lies. Truth. Just like the truth you could never accept. Emily would never have loved you the way you wanted. In any life. That broke through his control. He lunged wildly, overextending. I grabbed his wrist, using his own momentum to send him tumbling. His sword clattered across the bridge. Before he could rise, arrows sprouted from his shoulder and leg. Imperial archers had finally gotten clear shots. Marcus fell, blood pooling beneath him on the wood where he'd once dreamed of proposing. I knelt beside him, careful to stay out of reach. It didn't have to end this way. Doesn't it? He coughed, blood speckling his lips. Every time. Every dream. It ends with death. Yours, mine, together apart. We're cursed, Visha. No. We were given a second chance. You just used yours wrong. His eyes, fading now, fixed on something behind me. He really loves you. I can see it. The threads of fate. They were always between you and him, never us. I was blind. I turned to see Noah limping across the bridge, supported by Lieutenant Reed. Alive. Wounded but alive. When I looked back, Marcus was gone. This time there would be no deathbed promises, no requests for another chance. It was finished. Noah collapsed beside me, pulling me into his arms despite his injuries. Visha. The baby? Safe. Home. Waiting for his father. I touched his face, relearning its lines. Are you? Injured but healing. Your message reached us just in time. My men most remained loyal. Marcus could only turn the desperate and ambitious. He pressed his forehead to mine. I knew you'd come for me. Always, I promised. The aftermath took months to settle. The barbarian forces, leaderless and learning of Marcus's deceptions, negotiated peace. Many of the turned soldiers, freed from Marcus's influence, begged forgiveness. Noah, promoted to general for his resistance during captivity, advocated for mercy where possible. Men make mistakes when desperate, he said at their trial. Judge them by their choice to return, not their moment of weakness. His compassion earned both praise and criticism, but the emperor ultimately agreed. The turned soldiers were given chances to redeem themselves through service on the harsh southern borders. Emily married Lieutenant, now Captain, Read in a summer ceremony filled with genuine joy. She'd grown during the crisis, showing courage and intelligence nobody had expected. "I'm not the silly girl I was," she told me while adjusting her wedding robes. "Seeing what jealousy and obsession did to Marcus. I want to be better. Thomas sees who I really am, not who he wishes I was." Their marriage became one of the capital's favorites, the beautiful daughter and the hero soldier who'd helped save the empire. Noah and I had our own renewal ceremony on our first anniversary, this time with him present for the entire celebration. Victor, now walking on unsteady legs, carried the ceremonial flowers with serious concentration that made everyone smile. "No regrets?" Noah asked that night, holding me close. "About which part?" "Marrying a soldier instead of a scholar. Living with uncertainty instead of stability." I thought about my first life, 40 predictable years in a gilded cage. Then I looked at this life. Dangerous, uncertain, but filled with genuine love and purpose. "I regret nothing," I said firmly. "Except perhaps letting you name our next child. Your suggestions are still terrible." He laughed, the sound rumbling through his chest. "Next child? I thought perhaps a daughter. Someone to keep Victor from becoming too serious. Like her mother? Like her father, who pretends to be stoic but writes love letters filled with horrible poetry." "You said you liked my poems." "I like that you try. The actual poems are crimes against literature." We laughed together, comfortable in the darkness. This ease between us, this joy, it was nothing like my first marriage. That had been a partnership of minds. This was a partnership of souls. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more powerful stories every day. Thanks for watching.